it too late to engage Ngizwe and Pakela? It's never too late to engage anyone when you are a government, because if you are a government that listens, that's what you do. So it cannot be subjected to time. You must understand that there have been meetings that have been convened by the IMC, led by Mamuluko Kubai, which did a sterling job up until to date, that also met with these groups, including Dudula amongst them. So you need to engage, even at the highest level. The office of the president engaged on this particular matter. So we welcome that. We welcome the engagement, and it seemed like they have taken it as genuine and something that they themselves have welcomed. So it's an important act, and I think that the tune has changed, addressing the issue, but not advocating for violence, beating up of people and all of that. That in itself is very important. The question of people taken out of their houses, it's exactly what we want against. That these marches will degenerate to violent acts. I saw one person on television from Zimbabwe, legally in our country, and then been harassed and, in a manner that was very, very embarrassing, particularly because it was only Africans there in the main. And the poor guy showed his passport and everything. And then they said, no, he must go. And then the police had to intervene. So if the police were not there, something could have happened to that person. Could have been beaten up or whatever that is the case. But he was legally here. He's legally in the country, documented, he's got his documents, everything. So such activities, that is what we say that the law enforcement has acted decisively when it comes to that particular matter. Because if there was no deployment and the state did not show its professionalism and stamping its authority, many things could have gone out of hand. And the leaders of the march would not be having answers today if the country burned down like July. All what they were doing to safeguard themselves was to change language, not to be caught on the side of being accused that they promoted violence. And they were not emphatic on the fact that we're non-violent. But from where it started, up until later on, language changed. There are all the hallmarks of July that showed that this country was going to be burnt down. People were going to die, there was going to be shootings and all of that. So people must be held accountable for reckless actions they promote. There's nothing wrong to marshal and to become a social activist and to be whatever that we want to be, but it comes with consequences. Our constitution is very clear, is that we've got rights, but rights come with responsibilities. We've got a Bill of Rights, we've got a beautiful constitution, but at the end of the day, we're a constitutional state, we're a state that prides itself with a rule of law. Lawlessness cannot be a norm and be tolerated, and violence. I've spoken about this, and another political party, EFF, was knocking on people's doors, telling foreigners to go outside the law. Government had to employ 10,000 inspectors because these businesses also are responsible for some of the things. And when you talk to them, they say, no, people who come from outside, even if they are illegally here and undocumented, they are the most reliable, unlike South Africans. Those particularly in the business of restaurants and so on. That's what they say. And it's not the fault of the undocumented, it is the fault of business. And the law must be very clear that those jobs are preserved, probably, for South Africans. So that's what we need to straighten up. So when this thing started violently getting into shops without any status of a law officer, you are teaching people that to be reckless and to be unlawful, it is acceptable. And they will do the worst on their own. That no, these leaders can beat up people and there's no consequence. So you become a banana republic, a lawless country. And the role of the state diminishes and its authority. It's something that we did not see in this march. You think we don't have capacity to mobilize people, take them to the streets? No, we do. But the fact of the matter is that you can't do that on a matter that affects everybody. Do you think that ANC members do not see the challenge of illegal immigration? They are not affected in the communities where they live. About people who just there and promoting networks of drug cartels and all of that. You think ANC members live in heaven? They live and support us among those people, including those who are marching with March and March. Amongst them, you have ANC supporters there who agree with March and March that what you are saying, we agree with it. As you would have seen in Cape Town, ANC members joined and all of that. I don't know what you say about the numbers. I'll come to that. Mawande, Eastern Cape. On the Eastern Cape, here is where the matter stands today. Following the judgment of the High Court in Makhanda on the 18th of June 2026, which set aside the appointment of our provincial task team, the ANC has filed an application for leave to appeal the whole judgment to the full court, alternatively the Supreme Court of Appeal. In addition, we have also brought an application under Section 18, subsection 2 of the Superior Courts Act, seeking to suspend the operation and execution of that order, pending the outcome of the appeal. Our firm position on the advice of senior counsel is that the order is final in its effect and is therefore already suspended by operation of law upon the filing of our appeal. The Section 18 subsection 2 application is brought in the alternative should the court hold the order to be interim. We do this because it cannot be just that the affairs of a province of millions are thrown into limbo by a judgment that a higher court may well overturn. We hold the judiciary in the highest regard, and it is precisely because we respect the courts that we exercise every right the law affords us. The ANC's commitment is unshaken. The Eastern Cape will be whole, united and ready to contest the local government elections. We remain pained by this ill-conceived decision of the High Court. And that's where we stand with regard to the Eastern Cape. Have we met March and March? We don't have a problem to meet anyone. We'll meet with them at any given point in time. I've explained that, but we're happy that they were meeting with authorities in government because it's an NGO March and March. They've met with the authorities, they've engaged with authorities, and that is it. But you must also appreciate the fact that there have been deep political utterances right from the onset. Government has failed, government must be removed. When somebody says that, it closes you down. And then the next step, no, we're fighting illegal immigration. But in this illegal immigration, we must be conscious of the fact that we have been failed by government and government must go. And then in this election that is coming, do not vote for the ANC. Vote for the following parties. You must be conscious that you are no longer dealing with immigration. You are dealing with what is this? People with a political agenda. And that truth will come. You are going to see it. That this thing is not just a movement, it's a others might not have a political party. Pakela says, addressing, give IFP a chance here in Johannesburg, addressing people on immigration. He says, no, bakithi kaninike inkatha nje ithuba lokuphatha. Inkatha ike yaphatha phi? Yoyise kuphatha pha eKZN. Siyayincedisa uphatha pha. Sa withdraw sihambe noZuma ajonge. Akho nto isibambezeleyo kubo. There's nothing. But we are not anarchic. We build in this country. That's why we went for GNU. And we get a beating for that, even from our allies. But we put South Africa first. And that is what we did. So this thing is going to change, and they are going to fight among themselves because others are not there for those politics. They are genuinely in the march and march to fight for what is right. Do I stand here and say the issues that have been raised, that undocumented illegal immigrants are doing horrible things in our townships? I will be lying. I was a minister of police. I went to Kagiso. People bent down a police station because some guy and some people, drug cartels and all of that, were doing horrible things. I was in the Val. I saw it with my eyes. So a person who marches because of that, his or her child was captured by drug cartels and some of them died because of drugs and all of that. That thing is not a slogan. It is there, it exists. But those people are not marching in March and March because they want to promote a political party. They are genuinely there because they want this issue to be addressed. And once the matter is addressed, the political party spirit for those who've got ill intentions and political intentions is going to come out. And it is coming out bit by bit. So, mark my words, it is coming. People who are interviewed are going to be vetted. They are being vetted with qualifications. If you are lying, you are going to be arrested. But there are rules that have been set in terms of qualifications. We are not going to appoint a mayor to manage Johannesburg budget who doesn't read numbers. That's the first thing you need to look at. So we've got to be conscious to that. On the NYDA, we have said that government must act on that matter, and then we'll get a report with regard to this particular issue of the NYDA. The minister will explain the 500 million Spaza Shop Fund, how it has been distributed, and how is it working out. Surely a lot of work has been covered in that direction. I'm going to address the issue of Comrade Diana at the end. So, Islam, June 30th implications for the country. Yes, there are implications. We lost billions in freight and logistics in July riots 2021. Yet there was no chaos here. The economy was not stopped, even though that was the intention. Trains were moving, people could go to work, except those who felt that they were exposed. And then they closed their shops. And they took a right decision, because if you look at Yeovil, when people attacked a bottle store, when there was no one inside, it tells you what could have happened. But business did not shut down, all in all. So the implications are huge. Should these events taken a violent turn, and so on. News 24, Masungwini, I don't know what you make of the numbers. I don't want to argue with you, but I saw people who were mobilized in and around, even from the hostels, marching, and a build-up around Johannesburg and the surrounding areas, and as well as eThekwini. But all other provinces, even though there were marches, but they were not big. But that should not be the issue for the ANC. The ANC should be concerned that there's a possibility that our people can be hijacked against itself and be turned against the ANC on this very issue. It's not a question of there were 50 or 100 or 20. That's the first thing we need to consider. Secondly, we need to read the room correctly, which we agree with the people. Are the issues that have been raised, leave the figures who are leading, are these issues not real? They are real. First, admit to those issues. And then, because you are leading GNU, you are a governing party, address the concern. Do not be oblivious and say that, no, they are drunk. Some of them get money from Israel and the CIA. You don't have even, some of them get money from the, no, that should not be an issue, preoccupation. That reality will come out. That people have got money to mobilize, they can travel. I don't know, these people are using jets or what. Pakela, I saw him in Joburg in the morning, in the afternoon he was in Durban. I said, hey, I'm resourceful, Lamadot. Even we politicians, ANC has to hire a jet for you to campaign in 3 cities. Now, some guy in jail from Nongoma can travel from city to city. It's a concern, you know, because we don't want our state and our country to be hijacked for ulterior motives. We don't. But that should not be our preoccupation. We are hard at work now to address the very same issues they are talking about. Me and you, we know the truth about the issues that they are addressing. And that is why there is a conflict of knowledge and data around the question of how many undocumented people are in the country. Stats SA says it is not the numbers that people have projected, 30 million, which means it's half of the South African population. Stats SA talks about 3-point-something million people who are undocumented in our country. And Risenga, the SG, the Statistician General, has given us that particular data. But others have been saying that there are 40 million people here. You know, 5,000 people when they are marching, you will think that there are many. Take a drone and look at them. You will realize that there are 5,000. That's why we fight as the ANC all the time with the numbers, with the journalists. Because the journalist will just look at you and say there were 1,000 people. And then we say you are lying with 20,000. They say you were 1,000 bucks. You were not 20,000 and all of that. And then they start to give you the analogy of this. But me and you and this group, if we get into the street and march, maybe say we are 5,000, we'll make this street look like if you take especially a view, make people to think that you were many. Imapai Chachalazeni, there next to Market Theatre, fill that place and call the cameras, then we'll know you were 20,000. Not when you are running around, running amok, promoting violence, doing anything. Marches were peaceful in most parts of the country, but they were more vibrant in Gauteng and Durban, eThekwini. But everywhere in the country, 170 people were marching. Even in Kwakompo, where a king was installed, the numbers were not as big as that time. And business became business as usual. But the mobilization, we saw it. It was targeting Cape Town, City, Central. It was targeting Eastern Cape. It was targeting all parts of Gauteng. And then KZN. And you were bound to see numbers there. And then in Gauteng, where did it go? Soweto, Johannesburg, Central, and then Ekurhuleni, those areas. And even Pretoria, where we used to have a problem, bigger problem, of a settlement of illegal immigrants, did not explode in terms of numbers and all of that. So local government there and government have done a good work to repatriate these people from Pretoria Central, and they continue to do that. So a lot of work has been covered. So we don't argue with the numbers. The question is, what is it that is being addressed? And that's what we need to attend to. Whether there were 40,000 people and all of that, of course the ANC gets worried when people get mobilized and they respond to some of the issues that we think normally will be blamed on the ANC government, which is what everybody will say. And that is what we are rebutting here. To say that, no, we are in this problem because of them. And now we reminded them. We have been addressing these problems since it came to the center stage. And whenever we go and address this issue, the rate we are addressing it, we're taken to court. Helen Suzman. People now forget Helen Suzman with Motsoaledi in court. And then we lost the case on appeal. The most vibrant minister of Home Affairs who addressed the question of illegal immigration and migration in South Africa. Tell me about Schreiber in GNU. Did he take off from where Motsoaledi left? He only wants nice things there. He steals the things that Motsoaledi have done that are nice. These difficult ones, quiet. I heard Jacinta praising him and I said, praising Schreiber. No, we want to thank Schreiber. What have you done? All what Schreiber has done in that Home Affairs is what was started by Motsoaledi. You know, as journalists, not so long ago, before this election, who was in court dealing with immigration? Nimpraise up. This is the man we need, Motsoaledi. All of a sudden, now people have forgotten all of these things. Human rights lawyers and all of that, nothing wrong. Even now, government was being taken to court by NGOs on the issue of repatriating people. Are you doing that legally and all of that? You can't act in jail because somebody wants you to act. This country will be penalized, will be isolated by the world for mishandling this particular issue. By that time, these people will not be there. The responsibility of government is to direct the affairs on policy within the parameters of the law. You can't just chase people. And let me tell you, our courts today, they've ruled that anyone can protest anytime. Me and you, we can go outside and protest. Our courts, again, said to us, if people gather and set up settlement, and there are more than 100, duty-bound to give them settlement, to give them ablution facilities, to give them electricity and all of that. They won in the Constitutional Court. That's why there are settlements. You wake up in the morning, there are shacks everywhere. You can't remove those people. When you go to Bloemfontein on the N1, there were no shacks there. But now, there is a whole human settlement of people. It's a township. It's ever expanding. Now, if you are not in government, you have never governed, you have never led the state, we have established rules here. You must do things and do them properly. But that is not the pretext. The question is things must be done, but we need to remind each other. Every time we are moving and we're moving faster, we were held back by our own courts. And we don't blame courts. The courts look at the Constitution, human rights, and all of that and say, you need to do this. But at the end of the day, the courts also do an overreach. You know this thing of prescribing policy from the bench. People want antiretrovirals. And then you say, as a judge from the bench, give them. You don't defer to government, because government must test those antiretrovirals. Whether, if they are consumed by our people, is something that people can have, and how. They must be subjected to particular processes. It's the role of government. So government doesn't just do things without checking. It might be easy for others, and they will say that, no, you slowed down. We didn't.
You could get up to 10 million.
And you will go to history and realize what is the constraint. But equally, our people are correct that our borders are porous. Why is it easy for anyone to come in? This thing is as big as even Donald Trump. He said, when I win elections, I'm going to build a wall between America and Mexico. And I'm going to build it with your money. Nina nizathatha phi imali yokwakha la. Nine problem eziningi kangaka. Our problems are many. Zininzi inkinga. Abantu abasebenzi. Economy is not. You must take billions and build a wall, which is good. But at the end of the day, other parts are going to suffer. I was Minister of Police. I went to Manguzi, Mhlabya Lingana. Look at the border between Mozambique and South Africa. And the problem we're addressing there is that our cars were being stolen here and taken to Mozambique. When you are in Maputo, you see a car from South Africa, stolen. And then you tell the police in Maputo, this is the car we are looking for. They say, we can't take it back. We can't arrest even those people who are driving it. But it's stolen. Those are our cars. So we've got to sort out things. But when you go there, there is no border there. And we had to bring and build a border in Manguzi between South Africa and Mozambique. And people who are determined, running from hunger, they even walk in places where you tell them there are lions there. They walk to come to South Africa. That is what is happening even there. Border management was established to address that particular challenge, and it is doing a fantastic job. Comrade Kumbuzo's comments, I don't know in which context, but I don't want to interpret it. I think the question of blackmail is when others say that, no, you were in our countries. That is the point I was addressing and I've addressed. That some of our African brothers and sisters are deliberately vulgarizing what South Africans are raising. Genuine South Africans. The question of illegal immigration. To a point where they say, because they are not here, they see the visuals. They have been told, I was in Nigeria, they have been told that we are beating up people here. We are burning people. To a point where South Africans were being beaten in Nigeria. Businesses of South Africa were closing down. And then we had to go there and explain to them, no, that is not the situation. Because they are looking what? Social media. Because social media was telling them that particular story. So that's what I think Kumbuzo was trying to explain. But we can't also run away from the truth that we're given shelter. But we didn't just arrive in those countries and sheltered ourselves. Some of the buildings which were given to us, we have given them back to the state, like Solomon Mahlangu in Tanzania, the house of President Tambo, and all of that. Those were given to us. We were given bases to train the guerrilla army. We wouldn't have time to do anything other than to train and come back and fight. Our cause was genuine. People are not here because they are running away from their countries. There is war. Yes, in the DRC, there's war there. We lost our soldiers, South Africans fighting on the ground. Up until South Africans started to protest to say, but what are our kids doing in DRC? Fighting for what? President had to withdraw the army, brought them back home. But there is noble cause why we had to support peaceful initiatives, not on our own, but working with others. It was even also vulgarized. We are there because we are looking for diamonds. We are addressing a problem so that it doesn't become your problem. If there is peace in the DRC, then we will not see DRC people here. If there is peace and the sanctions are uplifted in Zimbabwe, we will not be dealing with problem of undocumented Zimbabweans in our country. They don't need to come here. America and the British, when Thabo Mbeki as a president engaged them on this issue, the media said Thabo Mbeki is doing a diplomatic, quiet diplomacy. We've got no business with Zimbabwe. Thabo Mbeki said, but a client state is going to be created next door. And Zimbabwe in the long term is going to be your problem. They imposed sanctions there, till today. They banned politicians, everything, and they fold their arms. They don't have a problem. And then they ban the whole country. If Zimbabwe is flourishing with all the resources, people are working in Zimbabwe, what will Zimbabweans do in South Africa? They don't need to come here. They are running fast and thick and fast into South Africa because there are problems there. When President Mnangagwa came into power, after the overthrow of Mugabe, they introduced reforms. They don't want reforms, they want regime change, they want ZANU-PF gone. They want their puppets to be installed in Zimbabwe. We are sitting with a problem here now. Now people move as far as Pakistan. It's far, my brother, Pakistan. Pakistan is far. People move from Pakistan. People move from Bangladesh. There's no war there. In Bangladesh and Pakistan, people come here and settle and have businesses and so on. Somalia has collapsed. There's no country there. And then Mogadishu, there's no country there. They pass every place straight and establish shops here. If you go to Gqeberha, they've got a city there, they've got guns. You won't even come close there. Somalians. Undocumented. Now, these are issues that we must address, and we're addressing, so that our country live in peace and all of that, in terms of these particular issues. Let me come to the issue of Comrade Dainapule, which is the last issue. The ANC wishes to address directly and candidly the appointment of Comrade Dainapule to the National Executive as Minister of Social Development. And we commend the President for his decision to appoint this capable and knowledgeable comrade. We do not dismiss the concern this appointment has stirred, and we understand where it comes from. Ours is a movement in the midst of renewal of its values its ethical standing and the trust of the people. And in such a moment, South Africans are right to hold their leaders to the highest bar. We hear that call, and we take it seriously. To answer it honestly, we must speak not only of a sanction served, but of the work of correction that has been done and that continues. The people of South Africa
We must
do not
speak
hand
not
down
only of a
life
sanction
sentences.
served,
Least of all,
but of the work
where
of correction
there
that has been
accountability,
done.
redress and correction.
The people of South Africa do
Comrade
not hand
Pule
down.
faced a process more than a decade ago. She was sanctioned by that process, and she accepted the consequences. She stepped aside before we even made it policy. She stepped aside. I call it step aside, but she even stepped down from her responsibilities and positions. In government, she was sacked. In parliament, she stepped down. She never served in any structure of the ANC. She disappeared. She did not want to be defined by a mistake in the time. She went back to the ground and worked to uplift thousands upon thousands away from the limelight. That is what accountability looks like. But our movement and our nation believe in redemption and in the capacity of a human being to be rebuilt and to rebuild. In the years since, Comrade Pule earned back the confidence of her peers through the most democratic tests our movement offers. She was elected by her comrades to the National Executive Committee. She was entrusted with senior responsibility in the Women's League, and she was returned to Parliament by the people through the ballot. A person who has answered for a mistake, served the sanction, and rebuilt trust through the free choice of her peers and the electorate is not to be condemned in perpetuity. The ANC stands fully behind the person of Comrade Dinah Pule, behind her ability, and behind the President's prerogative to constitute his executive. That work has been real and it has been humbling. Comrade Pule, among others, underwent internal ethics counseling within the movement. She consulted with our veterans, whose wisdom and moral authority the ANC holds dear, without being directed by a disciplinary committee or integrity committee. Those committees, integrity committee, was not there decades when Dinah committed what he did and she was sanctioned for it. Comrade Pule does not take this second chance lightly. She knows better than most that it carries a heavy price and a heavy responsibility for the ANC in this very period of renewal. The renewal of our values, our ethical standing, and the trust of the people. She carries that weight consciously, and she is determined to honor it in her service. Now, a decade ago and plus, Comrade stepped down and underwent counseling and ethical rehabilitation in the party. She never came close to any structure, to anything. She was elected in her own name and right again in the ANC, in the National Executive Committee. She was elected as a member of parliament. As we speak, she was chairing a committee, portfolio committee in parliament. Now, for a period of about 3 years, she was serving there. So, to be reminded that once upon a time you were here therefore you did not rehabilitate and so on, is to condemn people in perpetuity and say that they've got no right anymore in life to serve again. Diana didn't go to jail. She was sanctioned. She apologized. She stood in parliament, full parliament. After that, she stepped down. Not by directive of the ANC, she left. You know what is the council of elders? Is when elders tell you that go and never do these things but disappear. Work silently. Work hard for the people, never to commit such a mistake again. One day you will come back. South Africans give people a chance. And the ANC is that kind of a movement. Now, if you play the headline before a person was sanctioned for it, when he was in the executive, as though nothing was done about it, is to be disingenuous about the facts. The critical question that must be answered is that when you bring this person back, what processes has he underwent in the organization that you so firmly convinced that there is a changed human being? Diana did not come frog marching back into the ANC system. She went through a rigorous process which most of us need to learn from. That when you are faced with a challenge, you do not argue with anybody. You step down. That's what she did. That is now 10 years ago. Multiply after. Even when she came back and all of that, she did not. That matter is actually addressed. Now, here is the issue. They say that Diana is found on the wrong side, the same as Sisisi at Tolashe. The question is whether Sisisi will learn from her mistakes and become a different cadre in the long term. And that is the question that we need to answer. But Sisisi herself was removed from cabinet, and then she's undergoing particular processes in the party, the DC, the Integrity Commission. At the time when Diana stepped down, there was no DC, there was no Integrity Commission. She did all these things that we would have been forced today by these structures to do on her own volition. Now, the question that we must answer is that when a person has undergone all these processes, the question you must answer is, are you convinced that this person is rehabilitated? Has he shown remorse? Have he accepted weaknesses and all of that? She did. She did. Now, the question before the ANC is that, are we taking back an unrepentant person into office? No, we are not doing that. We believe that the comrade has actually learned from her mistakes, and then she has undergone a particular process, not in 2 weeks, over time in the organization. And she has met. Now, people are saying, why do you bring that person back? I don't want to compare with others. Because at the end of the day, they will say that we're scapegoating. We use the standards of other parties that we don't use. The process of renewal didn't say that you must punish people in perpetuity. The process of renewal says to us that you only reject the incorrigible. Is Diana incorrigible? With all what I've mentioned? Or you argue the question of, it's too soon for her to come back. Is there a resolution that if you made a mistake and you are rehabilitated, you can never come back and assume office? And she would have learned from the time she came in that, and besides, she has been with us. she's in that parliament. So when President looked at MPs, amongst those who are there, she looked at Dana and the experience and all these things and decided on this particular matter. I've got no other brief as the Secretary General either than what I've explained to you. If I've got a different brief from the ANC and the officials about Diana, I will do so. But what I'm explaining to you is the final brief. And it is as honest as it is. And it doesn't fudge or hide the fact that this comrade did commit mistakes. She was sanctioned. But you can't raise those sanctions as though nothing happened and she did not respond. This is what happens. You kept on being reminded about where you come from. There is another leader who left the ANC who went to jail for being stubborn and not listening to advice. Every time he reasons there, they show a car. It's called ML. You know, but he's a leader now in another party. And then others are still there. They form parties and all of that and so on. Yes, the ANC accept we must be held into high standards. And that is why we have subjected people to DC processes on matters of integrity. And they will be disciplined in that particular context. So we have chosen that. But in this particular case, I think the criticism is a bit, I listen to it, but it's harsh on this comrade, on this human being, that we have condemned him to the ashes, even when he has repented, and we have seen through deeds, we in the ANC, that this comrade have changed, have undergone full process of rehabilitation. We still say, we break you. And the only choice is that if you came from jail, let me rather go back to jail. The people are going to jail for correctional purposes. But society, even if they are rehabilitated, rejects them. Because there is something that, the aura that comes with the fact that you were once in jail. I've seen people who have opened podcasts. You don't know whether they are rehabilitated and all of that. Some of them, they are now politicians. They've done horrible things. Horrible things. Some are now ministers and all of that. But after a period of time, society have accepted them that they are repentant and all of that. I'm just making something, an example with something that is real and harsh. But Diana did not even reach those levels. And now we must permanently be judged as this person who is unrepentant, and all of that, which we believe that she has. If there is a different brief from this point, we'll gladly communicate, but as it stands, we wish her well and to do the utmost to get social development working going forward. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much to all of you for being here. It's very much appreciated. Thank you very much, Comrade SG, for the briefing. Till we meet again. Thank you.